Hey everyone, welcome to this Dwarf Fortress Starter Fort series. In this episode, we're going to be covering off how to defend your fort, part 2. In the first part, we built this little drawbridge here, which we're able to, if I jump to the right level, which we're able to close by pulling this lever, and we built some doors and a few traps here. Now this is fine. When a evil force comes to siege your fortress, you can just close things up, and you should be relatively safe. However, sieges can last for a really long time, a couple of years even sometimes. So sometimes it's just better to defend your fort on your own terms. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to make a visitors welcoming center for our invading visitors. The basic idea is to build a corridor which the visitors can use to get into your fortress and then fill it with traps. First part is making a corridor. You don't want this corridor to be too long because then the enemy AI kind of gets confused and they don't really go in and stuff like that. But you still want it to be long enough so that your enemies have to walk over a bunch of traps. And so I'm just going to make a little bit, I'm going to mine out something like this. In my one fort when I was first doing this, I created this crazy long maze here with a bunch of traps and stuff, and then the enemies wouldn't even go inside, they would just kind of hang out by the door. I think it was because it was too long. So I've made a little corridor. Now I'm gonna make 2 rooms. First room, let's do something like this. I'm gonna add more traps in here. In fact, let's make it a bit more symmetrical. I'm gonna add some final traps in here, and then my next room, it's gonna be bigger. Let's bring it out like that. And this room will become a barracks where my military will train. So I will always have a unit, a squad training here. So when an enemy comes, they'll walk through these corridors, triggering most of the traps. There's going to be a few more traps here. The enemy thinks they're safe. They're going to walk up this corridor here, and before they know it, they're going to run into a squad of highly trained dwarves itching for a fight. I'm going to unpause this and let the dwarves mine this out. Now it's pretty important if you have trees above here. I'm going 1Z level up. In this instance, it's not a worry for me because I've just got more mountain here. But if you have trees growing here and you cut down one of those trees, it'll actually create a hole which enemies can go in through. So you just have to be vigilant of that. In fact, all over at this level, this fort is safe because obviously there's just more mountains here. But it's just something to be aware of so that enemies can't sneak into your base. Okay, this is mined out basically. And next thing we're going to do is build a few rock mechanisms. I'm pressing O to go into the orders tab, hit here, and I say rock mechanism. I should still have some, but oh, there. In fact, I've got an order to make rock mechanisms already. So I'm just going to cancel that. Let's see. Rock. Oh yeah, I've got plenty of mechanisms here. Cool. So when I'm building traps, I generally I start building from here and I build my way out. First, I'm going to talk about the most effective trap, or what the trap I like the most, and that is the weapon trap. And I'm just going to say select material after placement, and I'm just going to build one for demo purposes. So you select a mechanism, and now they want you to select weapons to put into this trap. You can certainly use these weapons, however, these will probably later on go to my military dwarves. Instead of using those weapons, I am going to make something specific for those weapons. And that's called a large serrated disc. So I'm just going to go into the orders. I'm going to go serrated. And I'm going to build it out of iron. Usually I like to build it out of steel. I don't have a lot of steel production going. I do have a few iron bars. So I'm going to hit forge iron. And I'm going to make 2 of them. So when I jump down here, oh, I noticed I don't actually have a smithy. So I'm going to build one quickly. Metalsmith. And just place it here. And I'm going to use one of the steel anvils and make it out of marble. Why not? Once the smithy is completed, it should get an order to build the serrated discs, and then I'll continue. There we go. This dwarf collected all the items, some charcoal, some iron bars, and we've got a large serrated iron disc. So I'm going to jump back to the entrance, and I'm going to make the first trap. And I'm going to make it right here. Let's use granite. So the way this works is you can select up to 10 different kinds of weapons to fill in here. Normally, when I make the large serrated iron disc or steel discs, I normally do a 5 per trap because I make a lot of them. So I'm going to select these 2 for now, and you can have 1. The more you have, the more damage that this trap will do. I normally go for about 5 per trap. If I have a large steel industry, I'll do 10 per trap. For this example, I'm just going to use 2. And then the dwarves will bring the items and build the trap. Next, I'm going to build a stonefall trap. Stonefall traps are less effective. Enemies are generally good at dodging them, but not always. This just takes a mechanism, and then a dwarf will go and find a rock and place it there to arm the trap. Rock traps are a lot cheaper to make. You can make a lot more of them. However, they are less efficient. And the final trap I'm going to cover off in this tutorial is the cage trap. We did the cage trap before. Cage traps are super powerful, and I leave them as kind of a last resort. For cage trap, again, you just need a mechanism, and then a dwarf will go and find an empty cage and arm the trap. An important thing to note about about any form of traps, you don't really want to put them at your entrance here, because eventually your traders will bring caravans, and caravans do not go over cage traps. And so caravans won't enter your trade area, and you'll have less items to trade for. Another important note is that friendly units won't trigger your traps. So it's pretty good when you close up your fort. Any dwarves outside will be able to run inside here without triggering any of the traps. Next, I'm quickly going to cover off how to set up a squad. At the moment, our fort population is too low to really support a full squad, but 1 or 2 dwarves training will help out, and later on they will be able to train the other dwarves. So first thing you need to do is appoint a militia commander. None of my dwarves have relevant skills, so I'm going to pick a dwarf which isn't mining or a metal crafter. So maybe this bone carver over here. Then you hit this button, or you press Q. You say create new squad and pick the armor that the squad will wear. So in our instance, metal armor, and we've got the squad, the silvery speeches. You can click on that button to be able to assign more positions to your squad. So let's just assign 1 more dwarf to the squad so that the commander is not lonely. How about this furnace operator? Congrats. Now that we've got a squad set up, I just want to quickly talk about schedules just on a high level. You hit the schedule button, and you've got basically 4 options. These are editable. We might cover them off in a later tutorial. In the schedule, if you click view monthly schedule, see what each one means. So staggered training means that the dwarves train during these 3 months and don't train on these 3 months. Constant training means obviously the dwarves train every month, and ready just means that the dwarves need to go and equip their items and get ready, but they're not training. I kind of do that when there's a siege. I've got multiple squads. I want all my squads ready in case they break through, and then I can order the squads around a little bit. I'm going to click staggered training for now. Next, I want to cover the buttons I use here. So when you select the squad here, the actions for that squad all live here. So if you have an enemy and you hit this and you click that button, you're able to click on the enemy and attack. You can even click here and then paint a square, and the squad will attack those enemies. You have to remember to click confirm. This is the move order. The squad will actually move in the area that you've told it to. These are patrols. You can set up a route, and your squad will follow the route. I'm going to leave that for now. This button, you tell the squad to defend a specific burrow. We'll cover burrows at a later time. Otherwise, this tutorial is going to get pretty long. But burrows are essentially areas which you can assign dwarves to, and then the dwarves won't leave that area. And this just tells the squad to go train. This option here cancels any current orders that you've given the squad. Okay, so I'm going to hit cancel. This disbands the squad and causes much sadness when pressed accidentally, especially if you have multiple squads selected. Okay, so now we've got a squad. You can press Q, by the way, to hide and open the squad button. I'm going to build a barracks for them. There you go. Once you have a barracks area, you can make it real nice for the squad. You can hit this button and assign the squad, and there are basically 4 options. This means that the squad will not only train but also sleep in this area. You have to make sure you have enough beds for the entire squad. In this instance, I want this squad to train in here, and I want them to store their individually assigned weapons and armor here, and why not store some squad level equipment. And that's how you assign a barracks. One final bit: for them to store their equipment, we need to put in rock coffers in here. So I build F and H. Let's put one here. Oh, I don't have any. Okay, I'm gonna quickly make some rock coffer, and I'm gonna also while I'm here, I'm gonna make rock armor stand and rock weapon rack. I'm just gonna make 2 for now. I only have two units in my squad, and I'm just gonna wait for those to be completed. There we go. Now we've got a armed cage trap here, and usually I just build cage traps all along this area here and a few in here. And this corridor here, usually just weapon traps with serrated discs. I sometimes make rock traps as well. I'm gonna build a door here as well. So if things are going badly here, I can lock this door and enemies won't be able to get into my fort. Most enemies won't be able to get into my fort. Build furniture chest. So I'm going to put 2 chests in here. And I'm going to put a armor stand, which is in the military option. I'm going to weapon rack. And a armor stand. BY for military. And an armor stand. And just for demo purposes, what I'm going to do at the moment, because our population is so low, I don't really want them constantly training. They've got way more important things to do, but just for demo purposes, I'm just going to say constant train. Now the dwarves in this squad will run and pick up equipment. They'll try and equip themselves to the best based on the metal equipment we've given them, and they'll start training. Watching dodge demonstration. Okay, well, hope you enjoyed this example of how to make a Unwanted Visitors Welcome Center. Let your visitors walk through this corridor of pain. Let them get in here and have a false sense of security. Walk through more traps here, and then eventually they will meet and fight your highly trained squadron. Before I forget, I am going to actually, for now, put them to off duty. Once we have more dwarves, I will let them train more constantly. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks. Have a good one. Cheers.